Hey everybody, if you're just finding this video randomly, my name is Gareth Leonard. I'm a travel blogger and videographer, and I just wanted to give you guys a straightforward conversation about traveling to Iceland. I just finished a 4-part series about an Iceland road trip I did with my buddy Steve Hänisch. This is Steve showing me about tectonic plates.
Yeah, actually we have the Mid-Atlantic Ridge going straight through Iceland here. See that? Like here we can see it on the map of the world. Wow. Iceland is right on this ridge.
Way. And I want to just kind of create a non-bullshit kind of a guide. I don't know if I can actually label that as the title of this video. But anyway, so I want to just straightforward talk to you guys about Iceland and what it takes to travel there and what you need to do and some of my favorite spots, some places that I think are overrated. I was going to do this live, but I wanted to add in maps and visuals and that kind of stuff. So we'll do this semi-live, very limited editing. So hopefully this will help you guys plan your trip to Iceland. So jumping right into it, why Iceland, right? A lot of people, when I posted the videos and even on Instagram and stuff like that, people say I never thought to go there. First, for those that are geological enthusiasts, it's an incredible island. It's actually the world's largest volcanic island. There's a ton of geothermal activity. There's volcanoes, waterfalls, glaciers, there's craters, there's so many different natural landforms. It is truly a nature and outdoor lover's paradise. There's so many great things to see. Even if you're just in it for the Instagram game itself, there's so many great Instagram shots that you can take from this incredible place. And on top of that, if you're a Game of Thrones buff like I am, there was a lot of cool scenes shot here in Iceland that you can go and recreate and see for yourself.
That's what I saw on the fire. A mountain like an arrowhead. We're getting close.
And as far as visa requirements go, it is a member of the EU. So if you're from Canada, United States, or one of these EU countries, if you're a citizen of those places, you only need a visa if you're staying longer than 90 days. So all you have to do is you show up at the airport with a passport, a valid passport that isn't expired and all those sort of requirements. You get a stamp and you're good to go. So it's a very easy place to enter and exit within those 90 days if you're a member of this EU North American alliance, I guess you would call it. Secondly, the biggest question that I get is when to go. This all depends on your personal interests. If you're a big hiker, you want to go in the summer months because the Highlands are open and there's more access to the roads around Iceland. For example, a lot of these roads, or F-roads that they're called, are closed in the winter months just because of weather. So if you're big into hiking in the outdoors, maybe the summer months are best for you. If you want to see the northern lights, if you're a big photographer, or if that's just a bucket list item of yours, the winter months gives you a better chance of seeing the northern lights because there's more nighttime. Winter months are November, December, January, February. Summer months are June, July, August. But the time that we went, Steve and I went from October 22nd till November 5th. So these are kind of the gap periods, April and May, September, October, November. These are the times where we really like to go. You're rolling the dice a little bit more on the weather. It could be very spotty. It could have rained the entire time or snowed or bad winds. And we got a little bit of that, but really we got very, very lucky with the weather. There was a couple of bad days where we had to scrap our plans, but for the most part, it's the best time to go, in my opinion, these in between these bumper months, because there's less tourists as well. That's the one thing about the summer months. You get more access to roads, you get a better chance of seeing things, but there's a lot more people there. So something to take note, and it's really up to you. The next thing is, how many days do I need in Iceland? And this all depends on your goals, really. Icelandic Air is doing the stopover, my stopover promotion, so you can go for a couple of days. And that allows you to see a little bit of Iceland, as far as you can see the Golden Circle, you can see a little bit of the south, but it really doesn't give you a ton of time to really experience some of this beautiful west, east, and north part of the country, which was my personal favorite. So my answer to that is as much time as you can afford. And I know that's limited and it varies for every person, but really, it's such a beautiful place, and so many of the incredible attractions are far away from Reykjavik. I highly recommend staying more than 5 days as you can. renting a car and getting out of the city, getting out of that golden circle, that main tourist area. Next up is language. So Icelandic is their native language, and it is very, very difficult. As you can see from the videos, I really struggled with it. So this evening, we are at the famous hot dog spot. It's called
Pajer is besta.
Pare Espesta.
Pajer is besta.
Pare Espesta. And tomorrow, we just got told that tomorrow we're gonna have to go to
Och
Nonnavata for some delicious hoagies, for delicious subs. Sandwiches.
Yeah.
It's a struggle, but luckily most places and most people speak English pretty much everywhere you go in the country. So if you're worried about interacting and learning the local language and that kind of stuff, but it's very difficult on a short trip to Iceland, don't worry about that too much because a lot of people speak English. You just have to worry about the signage and that kind of thing. But the truth is, Google Maps will get you around everywhere. I highly suggest getting a local SIM card so that you are able to travel around the country with a good amount of GPS. Unless you have one of your international plans as well, like T-Mobile does I believe a $99 a month plan for international data. I'm not sure how well that works there, but I went with a local SIM card to make sure that I had Google Maps throughout the entirety of the trip. That brings us right into the cost of Iceland. So flights are relatively cheap. You can get there from New York for less than $400. Some places in Europe you can get there less than $200. Granted, some of these airlines are the low-cost airlines like WoW Airlines, so you have to take in consideration the hidden fees. But for the most part, getting into Iceland itself is relatively cheap. But once you get there, it's kind of like a casino in Vegas. It's cheap to get in there, but once you're there, they have you because everything else is pretty expensive. Food especially. We went grocery shopping most days and didn't eat a lot of meals out, but still, it was very, very expensive to eat. How much did that cost us?
Like £5?
Versus, how much was the hamburger?
I guess 12.
$20 for the hamburger, cheeseburger special. Luckily, with that being said, a lot of the natural landmarks and all the different tourist attractions are free. Take away maybe the Blue Lagoon, which is ridiculously expensive, and some of these other well-known landmarks, but for the most part, all natural attractions are free, which is great. And you can also use credit or debit cards everywhere. I don't think we took out cash at all. Even the small little mom and pop stores, everybody uses or accepts, I should say, credit cards. So that's a really good thing. You don't have to worry about cash or transferring money or anything like that. The other big expense that you'll have is if you decide to get a rental car. There are a lot of different tour companies that you can go with for multi-day tours. I'll leave some of their links in the description of this video. And also, as I mentioned, that Steve did an incredible job creating an Iceland travel guide, written guide with all the information that you need. So I'll leave a link to that blog post as well so you guys can check that out, see it in writing to help out along with this video. So rental car prices. We spent about $400 a week. We were there for 2 weeks on a 4x4 Duster from Sad Cars. Sad Cars was a partner of ours. I should say that in preface to this. There are a few other different options that you can go with. About $400 a week for a 4x4 is a really good price, and we trust them. Everything went great. It really was a great experience. You will need a 4x4 because a lot of these F-roads, depending on when you go, these F-roads are technically off-road streets, and so a lot of them are dirt roads. There are some very, very tough roads there, so I highly recommend getting a 4x4. Now, if you want to take it one step further, a lot of people get these rental vans or these RVs where you can actually sleep in the RV, and those start at about $1,000 a week. Now that leads us right into the accommodation part. In the main part of Reykjavik, there's obviously hostels, hotels, and a lot of different options. In Vik as well, and as you go north, a few other cities, there are multiple options. But when you're out there on the road, sometimes it could be a great distance between those options if you decide to venture out past the Golden Circle. And as you can see from the video series, we actually partnered with HomeAway on this trip, where we could stay in different residential places around the country. And that honestly made the trip for us. If you have a few people, it actually is a really economic way to do it. Prices start at about $200 a night, go anywhere up to $1,000. As you can see from our place in Reykjavik, you can get some swankier places. But if you have multiple people, if you're going with a group, this is a great and economic way to do it. And also a cool way to see a different part of the country. But if you're looking for more of a traditional way to travel, I'll leave a couple of links to hotels and hostel options in Reykjavik and around the country as well. All right, so with the logistics out of the way, let's jump into the fun stuff. My recommendations on places to visit around the country. So first of all, let's start with Reykjavik and the Golden Circle, because obviously that's going to be where you spend the most amount of your time, just based on the length of your stay in Iceland. I just want to say that don't overlook Reykjavik. I know you're going in there and then you want to go see the waterfalls and all the natural stuff, but it's actually a really cool city. Great street art, awesome architecture, a cool nightlife scene, and really an interesting place to at least give yourself one day to explore the city. Maybe even while you're there, try the fermented shark.
All right, we just came to this little fish shop right in downtown where we were recommended by a local to come, and it is not part of a local diet here by any means, but it was used to be many years ago, but everyone said you got to try the fermented shark. It's my first time served with schnapps. Let's give it a go. Fatty. Maybe the schnapps will help. The schnapps is good. Whew. Oh, that helps. Alright, that's pretty disgusting. It's just a really strong, fatty fish taste. Salty, obviously fermented. And they said don't try it, don't smell it. They said don't smell it before you try it. And there is very good reason why. It smells like feet. If fish had feet and they were in wool socks for 2 weeks and then they took them out and you smelled those socks, this is the smell. Fermented shark. I don't know.
All right, so as far as the Golden Circle goes, my favorite spot of all of the Golden Circle is most definitely the Hot Spring River. It is about an hour hike up and then you get to this river, and it's just an incredibly unique experience. And I liked it so much better than the Blue Lagoon, which is a famous spot, and I get it, it's good for photos. And so we went, we paid the price, we got the shuttle in from the city, and we went at night, which was a different experience, and it was pretty cool. It's actually, if you were there with a significant other, it could be a very romantic spot. And there's a lot of space so you can spread out, you don't feel clustered amongst people, you can rub stuff, different types of face masks or something on your face, and it's a fun experience. But in my opinion, I would much rather do the Hot Spring River than spend all that money on the Blue Lagoon. All right, the second region that I want to address, because it's close to Reykjavik, is the Highlands, or at least you take off from Reykjavik to get into the Highlands. And it's a long drive. It's like 2 hours, 3 hours to get into the Highlands. But for those that are hikers, it is the most beautiful area in the country for hiking. There's so many great trails, there's big deep canyons, and it is wide open spaces. I didn't talk about it much in the video series, but we went up there one day and we had pretty much the whole entire region to ourselves because it was November, and it was a beautiful afternoon. We were just out there in the middle of it, and it was a great place to spend the day. We just drove out into the Highlands. We are in the middle of nowhere. We're the only ones here. We met a lovely young lady in this little inn restaurant slash information center. She told us there's a beautiful little hike about 20 minutes that way. This is a popular tourist destination in the summertime, but the population of this tourist attraction right now in November 1st to be exact, is exactly 2 people. All right, and now backtracking from where we actually started our road trip from, we went west as we came into the country. So we started on the Westfjords and the Snæfellsnes Peninsula. Actually got that right on the first try. And this is such an underrated place. Not many people go there. Everybody's rushing to the south and towards the east, but if you have the time, I would highly recommend you going up to the west. It's very underrated, and there's not many people at all there. In particular, the Anastapi coastline, it is absolutely breathtaking. And if you had the chance, stay in the Arnastapi cottages right along the coast. It makes for a beautiful morning. The region itself is beautiful, not many people, and there's a lot of cool things to see. Continuing on, you have northern Iceland, and this was our best chance to see the northern lights at this particular time. It's where the sky opened up, there was no light pollution, not like really there's a lot of it in Iceland anyway, but it was a great place to see the northern lights because there's so much open space. And also it's the best place in the country to go whale watching in the summertime. We weren't there during the right season, but there was signs everywhere, and you can tell there was a couple of different ports that you could launch from. My favorite spot in the north was the Aspergy Canyon. We did a great hike along the ridge line, up across into this incredible valley down below. It was really a beautiful morning hike, so if you guys are big into that, I highly recommend it. Another popular spot in the north of Iceland is the Mavatin area, which if you are into the geothermal activity, there's a ton of geysers, there's hot springs, there's even a cave with a geothermal pool inside. Actually, the same cave where Jon Snow and that wildling girl got it on. So if you're big into that, as I said before, it's a good spot to go check out. So let's continue on. Eastern Iceland. So this was hands down the most beautiful stretch of driving that we did. We literally stopped every 10-15 minutes to take photos, to pull over. The coastline is so dramatic and so beautiful. You have to check it out. It's just incredible. You have Huffin there, which is a small little fishing town, great spot to stop for lunch. You have the Hänisch waterfalls a little higher north, which are breathtaking unto themselves, and it's only a short hike to get up there. And you have the bays and the fjords and the waterfalls the entire way. And last, the final region, as we went from west, north, east, back down to south, is southern Iceland. As you get closer to Reykjavik, around the Vik region, this is where we did the glacier ice cave tour. In the winter time, you're able to go into the caves and check them out. It feels like you're inside of a diamond. Very, very cool. Incredible, vibrant blues and whites. And then on the summer months, you're allowed to hike on top of the glacier. But one thing to note, this is also where the crowds start picking up. As I said before, there's certain waterfalls that are very popular, so you'll have to wait in line to get a photo, like the one that you can walk behind the waterfall to get the shot, but you're waiting there for probably 10 minutes to get into that photo. So you have to get up early to see these attractions, especially if you're a photographer or videographer. You want to be able to beat the crowd. So get up early and take advantage of these spots, especially the Black Sand Beach. It really is a cool spot and in such a dramatic coastline, but you got to get up early or else it loses some of the allure because of the fact that there's a lot of people jumping around everywhere and taking Instagram photos. Understandably so. It's breathtaking, but still, get up early. My favorite waterfall in this region was actually Skogafoss. It's just a giant curtain of water that comes down, and you can get right up next to it. You actually go up and climb to the side of it, but right underneath it, you just feel the power of this waterfall, and it's really, really a cool thing to see. And another one of my favorite spots in the south is the old Icelandic pool that we hiked up and jumped into. Now, I was reading the reviews about this place, and people are saying, oh, the dressing rooms are gross and there's algae in the pool. This is said to be the oldest pool in Iceland. You are out in the middle of nature. If you want nice dressing rooms, go to the Y. This is such a cool experience. And I mean, this is just me. I don't understand why people complain about that stuff. Yes, the pool was not warm. You got to remember that going into it. But it was so incredible with all the mountains around you, swimming around. If it was in a warmer day, yes, even better, I get it. But you're in Iceland, just enjoy the nature, enjoy the outdoors. It was one of my favorite spots of the whole trip. Now, let's talk about the overrated spot. As you can clearly see from the video series, Steve and I were not really happy with the airplane crash, the famous airplane crash everybody goes to. It is a long walk to get out there. And as we said in the videos, if you were there during Northern Lights or if you're there during a clear sky, probably the photography is beautiful. And if you go during the day, I imagine there's a lot of people there and you're just gonna take a photo with a bunch of people by a plane. And like I said, a long walk out there, that was underwhelming for me. A couple of the waterfalls, there was just a lot of people there. So in my opinion, there are some things that you can miss. Yeah, I think that's it. I just wanted to give you guys a straightforward question and answer Again, I was gonna do this live, but I wanted to add all these visuals in so you guys can see what I'm talking about. If you have any questions, any logistical questions or any spots that you wanna see, any details, number one, click on the link of Steve's guide that he made for Iceland. It's really well done. I'll leave that in the video description. And second, just add a question here. Myself or Steve will answer it. We'll use it as a little Iceland travel forum. I'm happy to answer any questions that I can, or at least point you in the right direction. And any other information you see, check out touristatomy.com. And if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Again, leave a comment. Let me know if you've been there, your favorite spots, some things that were maybe overrated or underwhelming to you. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If so, give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And coming up next, finally, por fin, it's the Philippines series. So stay tuned for that. See you guys next week.